Hello, everybody. Welcome to Expansion Pass here on Buzzwords Network. I'm your host, and Latte Excited Eddie V. Joining me is the one, the only Buzzman himself, Mr. Corey Dirrig. Hello, good sir.
Hello, everyone. We are testing out a new recording program today. So, we're testing it out now, but this first recording will come out like a month from now after we've been using it for like a month. So, it won't make any sense to anybody. Also, unless you're an audio listener, I don't think anybody's going to really notice, honestly, because there's some, I know how people feel about AI, Ed, but there's a button in here called Magic Audio where it like goes through and does the audio processing for you. Mm-hmm. And it like makes everybody sound like they have a professional microphone for the most part. And even if they don't have one. So it like cuts out all the noise and the echoes and the like tin canny sounds essentially, and it tries to like mimic or like AI generate voice when you don't have a microphone. So it's interesting, but yeah.
To help you provide a better quality.
It's weird though because like it's we're running on the trial version at the moment because you get 14 days free. I'm like, well, if I'm going to get 14 days free, I'm not going to pay for it 14 days early. You know, I mean, that's just dumb. But, yeah, I don't know, man. It's, I like we're using Riverside instead of, StreamYard. And it's something I've been meaning to change over to for a long time. And I just haven't. So, anyways, hi, Ed.
Hi.
Nobody really cares about any of this, right? So
I think for our tech people out there who kind of know these things, it's kind of good to hear, and I think it's still being transparent with the viewer and with the listener that these things are happening that's behind the scenes, and I think people like stuff sometimes hearing behind the scenes. I know I watch a lot of behind the scene videos and stuff, so I definitely enjoy that and everything. So
yeah, it's just I don't know. I've been trying to find a better. Obviously, we were having troubles with Zencastr because they changed their whole thing, and they just like, don't offer a lot of the features for the same price at this point. Like we want to do live shows. Well, Zencastr doesn't offer live stuff. We wanted to do, other interesting things that Zencastr doesn't offer. Plus, like their whole thing just kind of sucked in a way that, essentially just it kept crashing. It wouldn't let people in the rooms. I've been using Riverside at work for about a year and a half now, and I think the entire time I've run Riverside, I've had 2 issues with work. Yeah. And it was something to do with whoever was the guest on that episode, like some sort of like professional enterprise grade firewall that blocked specific things, and apparently Riverside has one of those things. But other than that, like it hasn't been any, problem whatsoever. So I like it much better. It's cleaner. I think it makes us sound better. You can record up to 4K, which, I have a 4K camera at work, but not here. But that doesn't really matter. But anyways, it's not really that important. I just, thought I wanted to share. So here we are.
Oh, that's cool. That is really cool. Well, Corey, of course, there's been news with Xbox. They just announced their code name, Project Helix, and I know you guys would be talking about them more on Xbox Casual. I know there's rumors about PS6 coming out a little bit later, maybe 2027. We don't know yet. I think the idea for Xbox Helix is that it's gonna be a a console and PC hybrid kind of system, meaning that most, you can still play, I guess, your games physically and digitally for Xbox, but you also be able to play maybe Steam. I don't know about Epic Games or anything about that, but any PC related games you'll be also able to purchase on your Xbox. So or your Helix, I should say. So, for example, if let's say, I'm going to use Crimson Desert as an example. If Crimson Desert was only Steam available, because it'll have a Steam app on that Xbox or that Helix, I should say. I'm gonna probably call it
Well,
Helix for
we
a
don't
bit.
know if it's going to have that, right? Like
Mm,
the the thing is that this thing can play supposedly play your PC games. They did not say you could purchase PC games on here.
mhm,
So my thought specifically is that you'll be able to import your Steam library on this thing and play your Steam games on this, but you won't be able to buy games through Steam on this. That's my thought, especially if they want to like cater more to the console audience. And this is more
mhm.
obviously like yes, it has a PC integrated thing into it, but this is going to be a console through and through, I think, still.
Yes.
Um, with an Xbox store and your Xbox Play Anywhere games and Game Pass and all that kind of stuff. I've been thinking about this a lot, specifically since Asha Sharma took over, right? And I've been reading more about, her background and kind of what Phil and Sarah were trying to do versus, what Game Pass is versus what they've been kind of talking about, but not really.
Mhm.
And it business wise, it doesn't make sense to have multiple stores on your console, right? PC is a
Yes.
little bit different because they have different things you can purchase on there, right? Like, you know, the
And plus
Office
Microsoft
and all
plus
these other things, right? But like,
And Microsoft has Microsoft Windows PC, like the Windows Store,
yeah.
where they sell games.
But the way they've been talking about Xbox being the one of the last major kind of Microsoft consumer, like popular consumer products,
Mhm.
it's not going to make sense for them to put multiple stores on this thing
But
from a business standpoint because they're not
yes.
if you can just buy stuff on Steam, you're going to go buy it on Steam and Microsoft's not going to get any money, right? Like
Yes.
that's just stupid. And the box is going to cost like historically, these companies lose money on the box or break even at best, right? The only company that really makes a profit at launch is Nintendo, and that's because
Nintendo.
they're so underpowered. But like if Microsoft's touting that it's going to be the most powerful of these boxes moving forward, it's like you need to supplement that with games in your own store. Game Pass isn't
Mhm.
growing. People have proven they want to buy their games. They don't want the subscription as their primary way to play, right? They need to get people
Yes.
back in the store, back into buying their games, back into buying third-party games. And if you want to integrate it with Windows and have Steam integrated into your Xbox library, cool, right? The ROG Ally does that. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, if you're going to sell a console, you can't have multiple stores. So that's my take on it. I I
It's
I think that like there will be like a Steam app on there, but it's going to work like essentially like Apple does, where like, oh, you can wish list stuff on Steam, you can search Steam, you can go do all these things, but you can't buy things.
Well, I think that the idea is, and reason I say, um I'm using Crimson Desert for it. I'm assuming that, if it's only Steam exclusive, that if you did buy it on Steam, just like you said, you could play it on your Xbox. If I thinking if it's gonna be like a PC build along with a console, I'm thinking just like, yeah, I agree with you having one kind of ecosystem to be like, okay, you could buy the console version, or you could buy the Windows PC version, or if you want to be able to get this kind of almost like when Netflix was on Wii U and 3DS, how you will, if you watch it on Wii U and you want to carry it on to your DS, 3DS or something, because maybe you're going somewhere and you're able to, like McDonald's, and you're able to connect to their internet. You could load up Netflix on your 3DS and then continue from where you're at. Kind of like a cross save thing between
Mhm.
PC and your Xbox. If you buy from Windows PC, but with like if they do offer Steam as an app and stuff, I agree with you being able to play on a library. I did
the
mention like making purchases and stuff, but that part
mhm.
we don't know yet
The
because they
only
only
way I
just
could
said
see
okay.
the only way I could see them putting like Steam Store on there or Epic Game Store is if they make some sort of deal with Steam and Epic and these other storefronts. Like, hey, if they buy from you through the Xbox, you need to give us like 15% of that sale or something,
Hmm.
right? Like, uh, that would be like, that's what I'm thinking, right? And Valve makes enough money to where like PC gamers aren't going to move to console. So like this would almost be like a now man, now I'm talking myself into
No, no,
them
no, no,
putting
no,
multiple stores on the thing,
no,
but
no,
like
no, because this is the thing about it that what you just said, PC players may not buy console, which I do agree at a point.
mhm.
That might change in the future, and I
Well,
think.
that's what I'm saying. Like
Oh,
this
go
could
ahead.
that like what I'm thinking is like it's the same thing with like the Steam box that's coming out, right? Where like
Yeah.
PC gamers generally may not want to buy a console, right? They're going to buy their PC, they're going to buy a Steam Deck or the ROG Ally or whatever kind of handheld device they may or may not want to have. But the way Valve is building out their ecosystem, right? Like, yeah, your primary thing is still going to be the PC, but like here are these accessories, these additive things that you can use with our product. What if Microsoft goes that way and says, our Xbox can do this too, but Valve gives us X percentage to be able to do that. And maybe those PC gamers will be more drawn to the Xbox ecosystem because,
Mhm.
oh, my PC is a Windows machine. It has Game Pass on it. Oh, my Xbox has Game Pass on it. And maybe that'll draw people into buying the Xbox from PC. That'll draw people into subscribing to Game Pass Ultimate to where you get both console and PC and cloud. Um, so like in a way it makes sense. Like I can totally see where they can talk themselves into this might work. And then if you just want your Xbox audience, you'll still have the Xbox store. You'll still have, the Xbox Play Anywhere stuff. You'll still have Xbox Game Pass, that sort of thing. Um, and I think, they'll still sell their games on Steam and maybe they'll pull their games off of PlayStation, right? Just because that seems to be the way that PlayStation is moving at this point, where like we don't want our games on PC anymore unless it's a live service.
Mhm.
Um, which I think would probably work generally because like aside from Forza and that initial run of Xbox games, right? Like Sea of Thieves and Hi-Fi Rush. Like, I mean, Hi-Fi Rush didn't blow anybody out of the water. Pentiment didn't sell very much. Like, Hellblade didn't sell anything either.
Right.
Like, Sea of Thieves and Forza, and I'm talking just Xbox Game Studios. I'm not talking like Call of Duty and anything or Bethesda games or
Yeah.
anything. Those games I think will stay everywhere.
Yes.
But, you know, I think things like Halo and Gears and Fable and anything Obsidian makes in the future or Ninja Theory, like those things, if you want to sell them on Steam, you can, but those need to stay Xbox console exclusives, right?
Mhm.
Because I just feel like exclusives still matter.
Well,
I feel like I mean, you look at Nintendo, right? Like obviously
well
obviously this is a Nintendo show, right? And Nintendo like puts out a new first party game like every 6 to 8
mhm.
weeks, it feels like. But like I think you look at PlayStation's output, they're putting out 3 games this year, if you count Marathon. Xbox, they have a bunch of games coming out this year, but like they own so many studios that they should be putting out that many games.
Well, I know the exclusive discussion. We're going to get into that one too. Has been, of course been coming up and stuff, but I think when you look at Microsoft and when you look at because this is my thing, just in general in consoles, we could yell at consoles about exclusives, but we can't yell at PC about exclusives. And it does. I do not understand why someone like Valve could get away, and even though that, yeah, um, Half-Life and them been ported, I think through EA or something, or published through EA, and all of this other stuff. But Valve is a first party company, and they could get away barely making any games, barely putting out anything on PC or console. Why? Because of Steam and everything. Because they make so much money off of it, they don't need all of that. So why are we not yelling at Steam, or not Steam, sorry, why we are not yelling at Valve to make more games, even though they
because they sell
have
every game on the
boogers of
planet.
money?
They don't need
Well,
to, and they're a private company and they can do what they want, right? I mean, that's
true.
why like, you look at what they're doing, and Microsoft sells 40 million Xboxes, and that's considered a failure / last place. But Valve selling 5 million Steam Decks is a success, because they,
Yeah.
it's all about perspective and how the company is run, and if you're, like publicly or privately run and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, which is why I kind of feel like that it's unfair that Valve gets away with this,
But
and
they're
we
not
and
getting away with anything. They're just selling games. That what are they
well,
getting away
true.
with exactly?
I think they're getting away from the conversation of exclusives
Well, they
of
don't want to be
hardware. I mean,
exclusive. They don't
uh,
care, right? I mean, that's
I,
their whole thing, though. They don't
mhm,
care,
right, but I think
and they do have
gamers
exclusives.
but I
Deadlock.
think
I mean, League of Legends. Half-Life Alyx, Counter Strike,
is League of
like,
Legends Valve?
or not League of Legends,
Oh,
Dota 2. Sorry,
Dota.
whatever.
Okay,
Oh, they're all the same thing. I know they're not. Don't yell at
but
me, PC people. I know they're not the same thing, but you know what I
but
mean.
But
Um,
I guess my message is that why are players not yelling at Valve to put out new IP to
they
get
are.
games out?
PC people want Valve to make a new Half-Life game. They've been asking for like Team Fortress 3 forever,
Mhm.
Left 4 Dead 3 forever, anything essentially that needs a third game in it. Portal 3. Deadlock is their first new IP in a long time, right? And like they, but the thing is like, what was Valve's last new game? Half-Life Alyx,
Have like yeah, because
right?
I think that was
They
VR.
it was VR, but they like bought that wasn't. I mean, it was Valve internally technically, but they bought Campo Santo. Remember they
Yes.
and they made that game. So like, I think also I think people got to remember that Valve is a really small company, all things considered. Like they have like 200 people working there. Like they're not a big company, you know.
Mhm.
There are
But
development studios that are bigger than Valve as an entire
Valve.
company. So like
But I think people just like
it's more
it
than 200
doesn't.
people, but you know what I mean.
Well,
Like
I mean, I think even if they're as a small company, even if they have 200 people, they should be putting out games. What people will say, because the thing about it is that
but they
if
are.
you
That's the thing. We're not PC people. We don't pay attention to
yes,
that. But they are
correct.
putting out updates. They are putting out, expansions, new characters, new cosmetics for their games. They're putting out, and they've been working on Deadlock forever. They're working on a new Half-Life game,
But
supposedly. Like there's a lot going on over there that we just don't see because that company is so small and Steam is so massive.
but I think people are I think, and maybe this is me, that I'm equating Valve like Nintendo, where Nintendo has so many IPs and so many genres. And I'm not just talking about Mario in this genre. No, I'm like, okay, they got Mario, The Legend of Zelda, they got Pikmin, they got Eternal Darkness, they got all of these operas, and maybe it's a game that got one, Captain Rainbow, and all of that stuff. Like Nintendo has so many IPs and everything, and
Yeah,
of
but
course
Valve
that's
doesn't have
throughout
that
the
many
years.
IP, right? And most of
And I
their
think that's what people kind of want. They want Valve to have more IPs. You got
right,
200 people, and you got this other developer, and y'all got all the money in the world. Blah 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 blah. This
but I feel like
okay.
Valve isn't. They're not a developer anymore, right? I mean, like
Hmm.
overall, they're a team of engineers who run a store and make hardware because Gabe is interested in it, right? Like, and they do things because they can, not because they have to, right? Like they tinker
Yes.
on IP and new games and stuff because they can, not because they have to. And I think that's when something comes out from them, that's why it's, quote unquote special or interesting because they don't do that much anymore. That's why
Hmm.
Portal was so interesting. That's to people. That's why Half-Life Alyx like got people into VR for a hot second because it was a new Half-Life game that was canon to the story and people needed to play it. And people have even tried to mod, controller support for that so they don't have to wear VR. That's how much people want to play it
Play it.
without
Yeah.
um and I think if whatever this Steam machine, I think you're going to see a rebirth of Valve in a game development capacity in the next, I would say, 2 years or so. I think it depends on when Steam Deck 2 comes out. I think it depends on the success of the Steam box and like all this other stuff that they're putting out. Um, And I think it also depends on, what the other console manufacturers think of these things, right? Like, will Valve games come to Xbox and PlayStation and Switch too? Maybe. I think it depends on what it is. I think something like Half-Life would. I don't know if something like the next Counter-Strike or the next, you know,
Yeah. Counter Strike and Dota and all of that.
but I
I
do
don't
think
think so.
something like Left 4 Dead or Team Fortress would, like Team Fortress 3, people would go nuts, right? I mean, that would be like, you know, the
Hmm.
opposite of the reaction of Overwatch 2, essentially. um, because I remember the Orange Box, like Team Fortress 2, like the Orange Box was huge,
Yeah. Because it
Um,
was a lot of their well-known PC games actually coming to console. I think that's the one that EA published um, when it came out.
mhm.
I think, and okay, and I think that's why thinking of my final thing on Helix about like the PC and this console hybrid with that definitely if with the RAM shortages and the pricing of all of that. We have to see how that technology goes out into the future. Even with custom RAM and stuff, we just have to see how all of that goes. I think if Microsoft themselves of Helix can get a PC game running on their system, whether they buy it through let's just this is an example, just an assumption, not actual happen. Um, if they could buy something that's a PC version of a console game, or and be able to play on Xbox Helix, uh compared to if it's having issues on PC, or your hardware, no matter what the RAM and settings and all of that, and Helix could somehow auto correct it and everything, people may switch to Helix. Then that would be actually a really big game changer for Microsoft. But we won't know that till more information comes out on how all of that is working. Yeah, if the RAM issue doesn't get situated, and Helix offers a better alternative to not only PC gamers but to also console gamers or a person who does both kind of versions of gaming, we could start seeing more games actually showing up on Xbox. Definitely, well, of course, indies, but I'm just like, maybe we may see like Assassin's Creed, the PC version on Helix, and maybe it runs a little bit better or equal to to the Helix version. We don't know. We got to see how everything plans out, because just definitely with Microsoft saying it's going to be the most powerful system. Well, Series X was supposed to be there. Oh, Xbox One X is supposed to be there. Oh, Xbox 360 was supposed to be there. Like, using the word having being the most powerful doesn't mean anything nowadays. Because the thing about it is, and I encourage, my feelings about this. I have always said, if you're gonna have the most powerful system, you should be able to run two things at one time. I shouldn't be able to select which version of something that I need to do. I don't need to have performance version or a graphics version. Performance and graphics should be running at the same time. Every game that's played on your system should be at 4K 120 for nowadays, or 4K 60. And there should be no problems if you have the most powerful system.
Yeah.
And then that's why I'm glad that Nintendo doesn't say that, hey, we offer these if you want it.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, like, I think with the way, like, you look at something like the way that Resident Evil is running, right, on
Mhm.
Switch 2, that game is using NVIDIA's DLSS to run from 360p, apparently, right,
Yeah.
to 1080p. And it looks indistinguishable from, those resolutions look indistinguishable because of the upscaling that NVIDIA is doing. And like you said with the power stuff, like, it clearly doesn't matter anymore, right? You look at how well Resident Evil 9 is selling. It's sold what, 5.1 million units
Yeah.
as of the time of this recording, which is
And
early
and and co
March. And
and
like,
and this
what
is
was
core
it?
and
Like
this
one third of that was on Switch
Switch,
too.
yeah, that's the thing about it. Everybody who's been shown off the version of Resident Evil has been switched to.
hmm So it clearly, like, this stuff clearly doesn't matter to the extent, like, power doesn't matter. I
Mhm.
think the tools available to developers matters, and if they want more power to build bigger games, then sure, but also, like, I don't know, man, something tells me, like, dude, they had Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza running on Switch 1. Not, obviously not, like, optimized great versions of them, but they were developing those for Switch 1. Like,
Yes.
they clearly don't need the power of the Switch 2, but they need that third-party support, and they're getting it now. And I think that's why the Switch 2 costs this much money. But, like, you know, I feel like this handheld hybrid space, the convenience of having your games everywhere is what people want now, right? That's been proven time and time again over the last decade of the Switch and the Steam Deck and, to a lesser extent, the ROG Ally. But, like, these handheld PCs and the Switch and PlayStation kind of jumping in, probably with Project Canis in the next year or two, like, handheld gaming has evolved from being a separate thing to, like, an additive thing to your existing library, and that's great. And
Mhm.
I think in the, maybe not the short term, but maybe in the mid to long term, that is going to allow some of these developers to bring their budgets down a little bit
Mhm.
and create games that will be, similar to what Nintendo's done. Like, you can sit there and play games for hours, or you can sit there and play a game for 10 minutes and still feel like you accomplished something, right? Like,
Yes.
that's, like, you look at Breath of the Wild, right? Like, oh, I'm on this, like, 15-minute car ride. I'll do a shrine, or I'm sitting down for 3 or 4 hours to play this game, right? To explore the open world, right? There's going to be something. Now, granted, not every game's going to be designed that way, but like overall, like you're going to be able to do a lot more, I think, with less. With, I know this word's scary to people, but AI and, like power upscaling and generative, kind of uh, fidelity upscaling, the way that Switch 2 is doing, you know, I really think that the way the industry is going from a hardware perspective,
Mhm.
and that's what PlayStation's aiming to do with PlayStation 6, right? Is making it cheaper. They want it to be the consumer friendly box that you can buy cheap, right?
Yes.
That's what they want, which is good in my opinion, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like I've said I'm starting to talk in circles now and ramble, but that's my kind of opinion on all that.
Well, it's just I think when we look at the future of consoles and just the future of tech when it comes to gaming, I think one of the things that we worry about right now is price because we've been so comfortable with consoles coming at certain prices, but it hasn't been, exorbitant like a crazy amount. Like the highest for a lot of us when it came to a console was the Neo Geo being at $1,000. But
Mhm,
you got to think $1,000 at that time, back in the '90s, was a lot. Where more gaming was kind of, I won't say kid friendly, but was to a younger audience. A lot of parents weren't playing games back then like they were playing it now,
mhm,
in a sense. Because now you do have those 90 kids who 80s and 90s kids who grew up who are now parents or adults still gaming over the years and sharing that love to a younger generation. Because now a younger generation, even if they don't play on consoles, and you can mic Xbox for this is an Xbox mentality. If they could play stuff on a phone or a tablet, do Game Pass, that's great. That they're still getting gaming at a reasonable price on hopefully reasonable functioning hardware or through the cloud or whatever. And, it it it's a great way to still keep the love of gaming, available and around. Because we didn't what we have now, we didn't have back in the day. Game Pass would be the number one killer in the '80s and '90s if that was happening.
well, I mean, I don't know if it would be though, because Sega tried with Sega TV, you know, and that didn't really work for them
True.
as bad as I wanted it.
But Sega TD was still connected to the TV through the internet, where if we had cell phones and tablets back in the '80s or '90s and wireless internet and stuff like that, and was able to play these certain kind of games, not this era games, but just those era games from the '90s, I say. Imma use that. Use stuff from the '90s, and we was able to play that stuff, like, on a tablet with Wi-Fi and Game Pass, let's say was, like, $10 a month still.
Mhm,
That would literally be huge, and that'd be such a technological jump, we wouldn't know what what we would do now. Because
mhm,
Nintendo would still probably have an up because of the Game Boy, and then that discussion, of course, would be Game Boy versus Game Pass, in a
mhm.
sense.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I just I don't know. The industry is in a weird spot.
Mhm.
I you know, I feel like people are I don't know how I want to say this. Like, you look at the way that people are moving, obviously not everybody, but like how many people you said just build a PC, right? How many people have you heard say that, right?
A lot of people.
Here's the thing, right? These companies, these PR companies with influencers and stuff, and we've experienced it here to an extent. I turn things down because I don't play PC games and I don't want to play PC games, but like how many PC Steam codes have we gotten for games, right? For
Yeah.
indie games and stuff. How many, how many influencers get PC codes so they build a PC so they can use these codes to play these games, right? Like
Mhm.
in my mind, that's where it's coming from. And it's like, it's easier just to build a PC. And it's like, well, no, it's not. How many times have you heard people complaining about, oh, I got to reinstall this. I got to reinstall Windows because something broke or like, you know, I mean, we've literally, and no offense to this isn't a shot at Laurent or anything, but like he's missed a couple recordings because something is wrong with his PC or like he can't figure something out on the PC in terms of, and granted, recording a podcast is different than playing games, but still like
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with any of that. You know what's fun about the Switch too? I can turn it on and it functions. You know
Mhm.
what's good about my Xbox and my PlayStation 5? They turn on and they just work the way that you want them to. Yes, there
Sometimes
are
they
some graphical options, but they're very limited and um I don't need to download drivers or patches or this third party kind of, NVIDIA. Oh, I have an NVIDIA graphics card, so I need this NVIDIA package to, play this game instead of this AMD one or whatever, right? Like it hurts my brain even just talking about it. So, yeah, I mean, that's yeah, I mean, that's why I prefer console gaming, and that's why like I really hope whatever this Xbox Project Helix is to kind of bring it all back. Like if they can integrate a PC library that people have and they can enjoy their PC games in a console like setting, that's great. If it functions like an Xbox, like my Xbox does now, right? Where I can just sit down, turn it on, you know, go into the store, check out the deals, go into Game Pass, download some games that I think look cool. And okay, well, if it asks me to adjust some HDR garbage at the beginning of the game, okay, whatever. Do you want
Mhm.
fidelity or performance mode? Okay, sure. But I don't need to spend more time toggling settings than I do actually playing the game that night, you know? And if it just functions like an Xbox, then I will be just fine, you know?
Yeah, and
So
and and I'm rooting for Xbox. I cannot wait to see what
I think
Project Helix is.
I don't think
Uh,
anybody wants Xbox to fail. I
I don't
think
want none of them to fail.
yeah, I mean, I again, sure there are the console warriors out there.
Oh, yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, Xbox being around, even if you're not an Xbox gamer, is good because it doesn't leave, you know, and not saying that PlayStation would really do this, but like competition grants quality, right?
Mhm.
Like it gives people more reason to have quality titles. I mean, you look at again, this is one game in one series, but look at the rise and fall of Madden, you know? Look at the rise and fall of Madden.
Yeah.
Madden has not been it was at its peak during the PS2. As soon as they got the NFL license,
The
it
quality
the
dipped. The
quality
quality.
the quality never, especially once it made the jump from PS2 and Xbox to Xbox 360 and PS3, like that quality bar just dude,
And it
Madden '06 was terrible on the 360. I don't know if you remember that whole fiasco or not, but like Man,
Oh, Imma have to
because
look
that was
it
the first year
up.
they had the exclusive license, and they had to rush the game out for next gen because Xbox was coming out a year early.
Cause that was the year before. Cause there's a was it ESPN 2005? Cause that's what NFL 2K became.
Uh, um, that
I
NFL
think
2K5 was the last one. I think it was ESPN, I think, yeah, ESPN NFL 2K5, I think. 'Cause that
yeah,
Terrell Owens on the front, I remember.
yeah. Cause of course, we know that the $20 debacle, happened and stuff. Um, and everything. Ooh, good googly moogly. What a year, that was for gaming. But I agree with you, like, and the this is the Call of Duty only, and the Call of Duty and the Madden excuse now is no good because the sale numbers are not hitting. All that stuff has been going down
I mean, I don't know if you
year.
saw, but this was what, the first year that Call of Duty wasn't the best-selling game of the year? It was, like, the 3rd best-selling game of the year,
Yeah.
behind I forget what the 2 games were, but it was, like I don't know what the 2 games were, but it was, like I think one of them was college football, I think,
Mhm.
but the other one, I forget what the other game was, but it was like, "Oh my gosh, Call of Duty's not the best-selling game of the year." That's that's unheard of in the last 3 decades, essentially, since
Yeah.
2007, you know? Uh,
And but Call of Duty has been going, I don't wanna say downhill, but it's not the way that it used to be, and I think I'm coming from a Toys R Us perspective because of me selling the game and seeing how people would come in and buy it because, like, Toys R Us would have Call of Duty or definitely Madden. Madden would be front page, even in sometimes even in Target, like when they used to do pepper ads and stuff, they would be front page. Now for a lot of a lot of Madden stuff, I mean, yeah, you'll probably see on like on the TV ads, but like I see like sometimes on a square available here, and
mhm.
that's it.
Yeah.
So
It's just, it's crazy, crazy times, you know?
yes, yes. So, um, but but I would, like I said, I agree with you, Corey. I really, I think when we get more information, we could have a better discussion about Project Helix, about PS6. We know the Switch 2, um, regardless of people saying, oh, the game system don't have games or it's not selling. I'm like, give that system time because like it's still being the number one seller across almost every month in
Yeah.
the world. So I'm like, you gotta give this system time. And I know everybody's just like, well, buy the system now because the prices may go up. Even if the prices go up, I don't think Nintendo's gonna have it that much high or anything. And if
Yeah, I
like if
mean,
they do, go ahead.
I mean, if you want something like it the it's almost like it is what it is at this point. Like everything is all these components and the way things work and the way things cost, like it's all going up. We're all gonna have to deal with it. Like it's just it is what it is, I feel like. Um if you want one, yeah, sure, get it now. But also like, you know, if you can't spend the 50 extra dollars it's probably going to cost,
Hmm.
like should you be buying it in the first place sort of thing, like it's that whole thing of like if you can't afford it, you can't afford it, you know. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's the way that people complain about the rising cost of games and stuff too. And it's like, okay, well, I'm sorry to say it that way, but like, you can't own or play everything, and this is just kind of the way things are right now, and Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, Corey, I think this is a good discussion. I think we, like I said, this summer we'll see what they have planned, and uh, we're gonna give the Xbox team like a year and see where they're heading to.
Yeah.
Um, Cause like definitely probably by time like even with Ninja Theory's next game, like I think that will be Series X, but I could see that being on Helix too. And no, with Ninja Theory, if any developer was to show something off the Helix, it would definitely be Ninja Theory. Like if they handcrafted made a game, not doing CGI, not doing all of that, literally developing a game that you could play and control. My best bet would be Ninja Theory. No disrespect to the Forza team or anything, or Gears, Halo. No, when it comes to like impressive graphics,
And apparently
Ninja
it's
Theory.
Hellblade 3 according to Jez Corden, right? Like, I mean, they're gonna make like a apparently they're gonna make like a quote unquote real game now for 3. Um, whatever that means, you know. Uh,
Mhm.
but I don't know. Like, I liked Hellblade 2, but like I
Still,
understand people's gripes with it not being like a quote unquote real game. But I I don't know. I still think like they could expand on that too, that idea too, though. You know, like
yeah.
I'm not opposed to them making a quote unquote real game out of Hellblade if they can still keep that story kind of going. But
And it's still just very delicious, outright beautiful. Probably like I said, my number graphic wise for Series X, my number one game on that system.
it's a great looking game.
So,
So
well, with that, everybody, I think we're gonna wrap up this conversation. It's gets kind of just flow. But the Project Helix was um Xbox announced, and I think we kind of need to get our opinions about out of it off of it. I cannot wait to see what they have planned for the system and everything. So with that, everybody have a great week, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time on Expansion Pass. Bye, everybody.
bye. If you want to see how you can become a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/BossRushNetwork. The Patreon producers for this month are
Adriel Munger, Francisco Santillan, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., and Fitzpatrick.
Thanks for your continued support of the Boss Rush Network.